as we know, we live in a society where the kids, our children, our sons are growing up, and at a very young age they're walking around with knives in their hands, stabbing each other, killing each other every 10 minutes it seems like, or whatever. You see it in the news, social media. Another 15-year-old or another 17-year-old, another 14-year-old or two 14-year-olds, or two, you know what I mean? Stabbing each other and killing each other. And quite often, as the story unfolds, when we look, we see the boys that are doing the stabbing, yeah? You can understand. You can understand them walking around with a knife because they're scared, etc. Because of other kids have got scared. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that's not the answer for the kids, and we know this as adults. We understand the fear because we were all kids. Yeah. All right. When I was 17. I was stabbed across my face. I carried a knife for a while after that. That's right, I carried a knife. I got pulled up by the police. I was in the car, I was only 17. I was in the back of my mate's car, there was a group of us, hanging about, stabbing and laughing at. Got pulled over, and as we get in search, Officer Serena said to me, "Have you got anything in you that you shouldn't have?" And I looked at him and I went, "No." And as he searched me, he found this knife. It wasn't a big knife, it was like a, should we say, hand-size flip knife, yeah? He looked at me and he says, "Why are you carrying it?" So I told him what had happened to me. He said to me, "Son, I sympathise with you, but that ain't the answer. That ain't the answer." He took the knife away from me. He said to me, "You're better than that. I know you are." And he let us all go. I got in the car and I thought about it. I never carried a knife since. 2 years later I started boxing. So yeah, I can understand through the fear why another kid, an innocent kid, a sweet, young, loving young child that we've nurtured and raised and brought up, all of a sudden he's carrying a knife. Yeah, I get it. But we know the answer isn't it. It's not the answer. And quite often, as I say, when you look into the history of these kids, yeah, and it don't matter whether it be the media is the media, yeah. They want to. You always hear about in London, obviously the density of London, etc. And it might be more multicultural than other parts of Britain. So we hear, should we say, quite often you say, you see, it's always like you hear like black kids stabbing black kids or mixed race kids, etc. Yeah, or kids from ethnic backgrounds as such. Yeah, and it's labelled as black on black, and it's not black on black. It's throughout the country. And quite often, when you look at these kids, yeah, the kids that are doing the stabbing, they've come from single parent families. As the story unfolds, you'll find that they've come out from single parent families. Not always, but more often than not. And quite often the victims, they've come from single parent families. So, when a father gets alienated from his child, from his daughter, from his sons, yeah, it doesn't see him for a number of years. May have been, for whatever the reason the relationship broke up, whatever the reason the relationship broke up, but he was a loving, doting father. What's that father supposed to do when he doesn't get to see his kids for a year, 2 years? Then it just rolls on 5 years. In my case, it's 6 years. Just gone, literally 6 years. So what am I supposed to do? What are men like me supposed to do? Sit there. I mean, I'll tell you now, yeah, right? Every time I see in the news a young lad, 15-year-old stabbing him, because that's my youngest son's age. Every time I see a young lad story come up in the news, and I hear 15-year-old got stabbed and died, got murdered. 17-year-old, 18-year-old. My oldest son, 17, is going to be 18 this year. And I sit there and I think to myself, you know, what am I supposed to do? Sit there and wait? What are fathers like us supposed to do? Sit there and wait for a knock on the door from a police officer? Excuse me, Mr. Clark. Can we have a word of you? Can we come in? And then when it happens, when these things happen to these dads or these kids that losing their lives and then they're dead and whatever, and then he gets an invitation to the funeral, do you know what I mean? What's he supposed to turn around and say? Thanks for letting me come. What a callous, barbaric attitude society we live in. I'm not going to go into detail on this one, yeah? But let me tell you something, yeah? Right? And don't argue. You know, don't attack my work with it. In fact, I'm going to do a video specifically on it, yeah? A lot of the reason why we see families growing up, yeah, and it's the single parent families, kids growing up with just their mum, yeah, right? This has been, you'll see that that number is growing, yeah? And you know the reason why? It's called the Duluth model. That's right. Basically, it means it was derived in America, and it basically, the women that put it together, yeah, they weren't even professionals or psychologists. And it basically says that, in basic format, it says pretty much if there's a situation with a family breakup, man and woman breakup, yeah, and there's allegations of domestic abuse or insinuations, etc., whatever she says, believe her. And whatever he says, he has to prove himself. He has to prove that whatever the allegations that I've made, he has to prove that he's innocent. And a perfect example of that with my situation, yeah, in the family court, in my family court case, and you can read it on fatherlessbritain.uk, you can read it on the page Father's Day 2021. It was proven in the judge's summing up. The judge, she said, it's clear to us that Mrs. Clark lied to us. However, we found her more believable than Mr. Clark. And with a stroke of the judge's pen, there you go. The reason, and one of the main reasons for it, is because I started this blog, fatherlessbritain.uk. One of the main reasons for it, they played a video and they didn't like it. And the video that they played was talking about men and suicide and having to deal with the family division. When I say the family division of the social services and the family division of the family courts. So, and I also proved in the court, yeah, got the CAFCAS officer, she propagated this a handful of disinformation. The whole lot was a load of crap. There was no substance to any of it. Or she changed the angle of it. Fatherlessbritain.uk. We need to fix this. Ladies, you need to join us. Yeah? You need to join us. Because these are your sons too. Peace, love and light.